Okay, so the lesson, it's 30-2, solving inequalities. Well, all you're going to have to do is be able to use a calculator to solve these inequalities. It is nothing different than what we've done in the past. So, only thing I need you to get from this right here is that we're looking for when this graph is less than or equal to this graph. Or in other words, when is this graph right here on or below 0, the x-axis? So I have it graphed right here. I graphed this on F1. I graphed this on F2. Okay, so I'm looking for where is the blue graph below or equal to the red graph. Well, as you can see, this is just the normal window, and I can really see that I'm going to be crossing right here and right here, but since the only place that I'm below is right here and right here, I really need those points of intersection. I don't need any of that up there. I'm going to zoom in right here on the close to the y-axis, or not really zoom in. You could zoom in, but I'm going to change my window. So I'm just going to go to my window settings, and x-axis is fine, but the y-axis, I don't need to see all of that. Remember, all I need to see is right there at, so I'm going to say between -1 and +1. That's really all I need to see. I don't need to go all the way down. So I'm going to click that and see what happens. See, now I can see that I've lost the part up there. I could pull it down and see that I can still see that part up there. But this is really the only part that I need to see, because I need to see where that's less than or equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to go to Menu. I'm going to go to Analyze Graph. Choose intersection, intersect here to here, and I see that that intersects right there at -1. Okay, so now one thing that you need to pay attention to is that this thing right here, and we'll go back over to this and find the asymptotes here in just a second, but this doesn't go, we're not going to say that anything smaller than -1 or anything to the left of -1 is going to be below the x-axis, because that's not true. We can see that these numbers over here, and I'll put a trace value on in just a second. But anyway, we're just talking about this set of numbers right here. Real special close-knit set, okay? I do need this other endpoint over here. Looks like it's going to be +1, but I'm going to go ahead and find it. Menu, Analyze Graph, choose number 6. Okay, and I was right. So -1 and +1 are the points of intersection, okay? So, let me see if I can do this. All right, so what you need to remember, though, is that you may not be able to see it. Let me pick purple. Right here at -2, we have a vertical asymptote. And I think we have another one over here at 4. I'm going to check it in just a second and see. How am I going to check it? I'm going to check it algebraically. 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm thinking it's going to be 4. Why do I think it's going to be 4? Anybody know why? Okay, so there's the 2 asymptotes. So why is this important? Because it's just below, the blue line is just below the red line, just between the asymptote and -1. The other one is just below the asymptote between 1 and the other asymptote. I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. The other part, this part of the graph, is just below, the blue part right here is below the red part, but just between +1 and this asymptote. So let me go back to this one right here. What happens if we factor that denominator? Factor the denominator, and we'll see. You can factor the numerator if you want to, x plus 1, just because it's really easy. And factor the denominator. We have numbers that multiply together to give me 8. That subtract to give me 2. I believe that's 4 and 2. Okay, and needs to be a negative, so that's a -4, +2. So that means that denominator, set the denominator equal to 0. And that's where you find your vertical asymptotes. So your vertical asymptotes are at 4 and at -2, just like we can see right here. And if I go back and put that up there, so at -2 and at 4, we have asymptotes. The intersection right here happens at -1 and +1. We could see those at -1 and +1. So we just need to talk about, so all we're talking about is this portion of the graph. This is where the blue is below the red, and this is where the blue is below the red. Okay, so you've got to be able to write that, okay? Well, it's starting, remember we read it from left to right. So we start this shading way down here, but that's starting at -2. It does not include -2 because we have an asymptote right there. And then it stops at -1. We do include the -1 because we were looking for less than or equal to. And it said include where it's on the x-axis. It's on the x-axis at -1. And then we're going to union that with, okay, where again does it start? It starts back up at +1, and +1 is included because we're looking for less than or equal to, and we're going to all the way over to that other asymptote, which is at 4, okay? But we don't include the 4 because the 4 is an asymptote. So, again, the answer was -2 to -1. Don't include the -2, but do include the 1, and union that with 1 to 4. Include the 1, but don't include the 4. Okay, now this one just had 2 pieces, but some of these could have lots of pieces, okay? Because it doesn't always have to be 0. I could change this number right here and make it be something else. Let's see. Make it be, let me do Control G, and where I have 0 right there, let's make it be, oh, I think that's on the other one. There. Let's let that one, because that's the one that I'm talking about. Let's let that be, oh, I don't know. Let's let it be 5. Let's put 5. Okay, so I graphed it, but you can't see it. And why can't you see it? Because we messed up the window. So let's go to Window, and let's go Zoom Standard. Okay, so as you can see right here, if we're talking about when is this graph right here below that graph, okay? When is the blue graph below the red graph, okay? That means we're talking about less than. You could do less than or equal to. Okay, right there is where it's going to be intersected. Let's just do less than. That way I don't actually have to worry about those points of intersections. So it's all of this. But what can we not include? We can never include that asymptote. Okay, it's all of this. Okay, and then it's this. So we've got to talk about the x values that make all of those. Now, but what can we not be sure and not include? We can't include those asymptotes. So we've got several pieces. We've got this piece. We got to skip the asymptote. Then we've got this piece. We got to skip the asymptote. And then we've got this piece. And then we got to be sure and skip the asymptote. So I still need to find these points of intersections. So I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to do Menu. Oh, I'm running out of time. I will stop this video and start the next one in here in just a second.